Yeah, let me pour it right for you this time.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
There we go, we're getting darker now.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so
Oh,
this is a darker
and this is
Belgian
not
style
not
beer.
a cheap beer either. This, they get you.
Drink up.
They grab you by the
Yeah,
cojones for this
they got
beer.
mine.
They hold them stock.
Smells awesome. I mean,
I'll
the
admit I've only
caramel.
ever had this beer a few times, and it was because it was given to me as a gift.
No, they're.
Yeah.
I think a 4-pack is like
I don't know,
25
maybe this
bucks.
could be a business model. Maybe you guys can make $50 million.
Yeah.
You can tell
He
the
kills food there.
craftsmanship.
Oh yeah.
Oh, this beer is so well refined.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not allowed to do anything but brew beer. They can't watch TV.
There's nothing to watch.
sad.
But you can watch the
Just watch the bubbles pop up in the fermenter.
Oh, God. No sports for them. They can brew beer. They
Have
do
you
a
had
damn good job.
the Trappist beer from Massachusetts?
No?
No.
They're like the only one in the U.S. that's like a monk place,
Oh, yeah?
but they make like a very Belgian strong ale, and it's pretty solid.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I'll seek it out now. This, to me, it's like very raisiny, figgy.
Yeah, but not too much. It's
No,
just
it's
a nice
so
rounded.
Well-rounded and
Yeah.
well-balanced.
A balanced,
Just a
version.
Very solid beer. And it's always the same. That's the thing I love about this beer. You can buy that bottle, go to another store and buy another bottle, and like 4 different stores buy all the same bottle, or a bottle
Yeah.
from each store, and it all tastes the same.
So from
It's
a brewer's
always-
perspective, they ferment this once in their fermenting tank, and then it gets fermented again in the bottle.
Yeah,
Yeah, so-
with I would say priming
condition.
sugar, right?
Oh,
They would
probably.
use,
Yeah.
as opposed to the Germans. They use additional yeast.
Yeah.
And then that is
To
not
bottle
a technique
condition.
Yeah.
you guys would adopt.
Not
I did that as a homebrew.
Yeah, when I homebrewed, I used priming sugar or I did
Bottle
the
bombs.
tablets.
Facts.
Bottle
Oh, I
bombs.
shot a cap and it stuck in my friend's ceiling.
Now, what about these beers? Like you got the Belgian beers, and if you leave it in a hot car, you're gonna get a bottle bomb. Like,
You might.
Yeah, it's
maybe.
very possible.
well, you shouldn't leave it in a hot car. Nothing should be left in a hot
This
car.
is-
Yeah. So, ooh.
You're gonna pour that hard.
Yeah, you gotta
Right,
pour that
just
hard.
gotta open.
Fuck it.
Yeah, you can't let me pour it
You gotta
because.
pour hard.
Now, can you guys talk? Interesting, yeah. So, because I don't know much on the stouts and the porters.
This is a nitro stout, so this is done with
You
nitro.
gotta pour it upside down.
It's like a hard hitting. There you go. This is
If you pour it upside down, the nitro should still help it cascade upward as if you poured it in draft.
now
Huh.
people look
They
at
call it
this.
pour.
It's got the ball in the can.
I know because he's not used to big beers like
No.
this.
Yeah, it's pretty heavy. Yep. Can I ask? So this particular style beers, when you're talking about a stout, what type of yeasts would you be using for stout beers? On that, like,
You know, the
what are
wonderful
realms?
thing to me about stouts is that there's such a variety of stouts. Like, you could have an English stout, an Irish stout, you know, an American stout, an Imperial stout. I mean, yeast imposes so much flavor, and I don't think people truthfully appreciate that.
Interesting,
So, you know,
yeah.
like, you know, you can really use a lot of different styles of yeast to create a bunch of really cool flavors in stouts.
I've tried everything from American ale yeast to Belgian yeast. I've tried everything in it.
So-
I've done even a German lager yeast in a stout.
Oh, that's awesome.
Just for the hell of it, just because why not?
So you'll just be a little more cognizant of the ABV that you're working with.
Yeah.
And can the yeast handle that? Otherwise, it'll be too
Like,
sweet, right? Or
The most recent stout that I did was that waffle stout that we did with the bakery. For that, I did an American ale yeast. But I normally do 300 grams of yeast in a stout, like a normal 6% stout. Yeah, basically, I ended up using a full brick of yeast. So I did 500 grams of yeast in it for a 9.5% stout. So you're doubling up the amount of American yeast in it. But again, like I said, I've used liquid yeast where I've done just strictly Belgian styles to try and bring out some of that fruity essence in the beer.
Yeah, I mean, I think you could do cool stuff like if you wanted to make a real fun pastry staff, you used almost like a Hefeweizen yeast. You could almost get like a chocolate covered banana flavor. The potential there could be limitless.
But it depends on the percentage of alcohol that you're working with, because I think
it could kill the yeast off.
Yeah, you're gonna overwork the yeast too
Definitely.
much, and it may give you a really imbalance of a flavor than
For
you
a beer
can
like
imagine.
this, you want a very hefty yeast. You want something that's going to be able to handle a 10, 11, 12% beer.
Yeah, but you might be able to impart a portion of a yeast.
Yeah.
So you can cover those bases. You can commingle or mix different yeast strains in there, so you can try to grab some leverage off of some of the
Yeah, you
qualities.
can do some really
There
cool
you go.
fun stuff.
There you go. So pretty interesting.
Yeah, there's some in there. Go
commentary.
ahead, top it off.
I liked it. It's very rich.
To me, the Guinness is straightforward malt. They're using the barley, they're using roasted barley, they're using chocolate malts. This has probably got a lot of chocolate malts and lactose in it.
And oats.
And oats, yeah, a ton of oats in this beer. I don't think you could get this.
Taste to it.
That's probably from the oats.
Yeah.
I don't think you can get this kind of body in a beer without putting some sort of lactose into it, unless you ramp up. I mean, you might agree or disagree, but unless you, like, if you want to do a 6% stout, and then you want to take that stout and turn it into a 10% stout, you can, in theory, just ramp up all your malt, but you're not going to have that real thick, viscousy style bottle.
The other thing is, it's not necessarily cost effective, but you can also cut your sparge short, so you end up with less wort than you normally would.
Boil long.
But it gets a lot more of a heavier body and all those thicker sugars left in. But yet again, like you're almost doubling the cost of your beer at that point.
But I mean, the last stout that I did, my normal smoked stout is about an hour and 15-minute boil. The last stout that I did was 9.5%. That one was a 4.5-hour boil. So I boiled it forever just to get it to when I transferred it to the fermenter. It was like syrup going into my fermenter.
Just out of curiosity, did you measure your loss in?
Yeah,
boil?
I had just from pre-boil measurements, I had 130 gallons. Transferring to my kettle or my fermenter, I had 110 gallons. So I lost 20 gallons in boil alone.
Wow.
That's wild.
I lost 15 gallons to fermentation.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, boiling off that much is a lot.
It was a lot. So it was an 18-hour brew day. It was a long
intense.
day. So he's no stranger to the 18-hour.
Well, I've tried that beer, and I gotta tell you, it paid off because that was solid.
Yeah, you had it at the festival there, yeah.
And you've also, what was it? You've done a stout. You got a gold medal
He's won awards for the stout.
in Tap New York.
Yep, I got the gold for a coffee stout.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love stouts. I think they're just really, really underappreciated, and there's a lot of really fun things that you can do with them.
Also, who else does good stouts out there? I think it's a Spider Bite.
Spider Bite,
They're good people. I've seen them a few times.
Spider Bite,
I know that you're
Boris.
Boris
the Spider.
Yeah. I know you're into stouts, but have you ever had Deschutes Obsidian Stout?
Oh yeah.
That's to me is probably the best stout in the U.S. by far.
Oh yeah.
They
do verticals where they do tastings of that in their tasting room where you can get like years 2011, 12, 13, 14, 15 all together.
Seriously, such
So
a...
you're talking about aged beers.
Oh yeah.
And that seems to be like, some people don't believe in aged beers, like you can't age a beer. And it goes on like with beers on a shelf with like extra fermentation that happens in the bottles.
Some beers can handle it. Normally anything over 8% can typically handle a couple years in aging or off-shelf aging. I've got a case of Brooklyn Black Chocolate Stout from 2008 in my basement. And every year I'll pull one out and try it, and it gets better and better and better every single year. we'll have to do a night where we all get together and I bring one over and I crack it because I'm down to like 5 left now.
Wow.
And they're from 2008.
That's incredible.
And I bought the case.
10 years old. That's wild.
And the beer, it's still got a little bit of carbonation to it. It is extremely boozy and chocolatey, but it's so smooth and so good.
You know, the other key thing there is like wine. You know, when you age something, there's certain conditions that that need to be met. You know, you can't just put it up on a shelf in the sun and in a hot room like wine. There's ideal conditions that
should cellars built around it.
Now, it's a good point too. Aging, we see it all the time. Aging, of course, you mentally you think, okay, you age beer, but there's certain beers. You age a Hefeweizen, all right.
IPAs.
It has to be certain beers that you're gonna age, and typically it'll be the high percentage, high ABV. If you're gonna age,
your darker beers lend themselves very good to being aged. But
then
you can age. Saisons you can age. Dogfish does a 120-minute IPA.
But Saison,
which you can
age, but Saison is a French beer, and it is a fast beer to make. Like you can brew that. Maybe you'll get it rolled out.
4 days.
And you'll get it out in a week, or 2 weeks, which is great for a brewer's perspective, especially if you're in a crunch or you brewed a batch that just didn't come out right. Time to brew a Saison.
Done that before.
It's reality.
I had a charred beer. I called it.
But you're saying, like, I've tasted Saisons, and I know a very good fresh Saison I love, but then I've tasted, like, sour Saisons.
Yeah, but I mean, if you really look at the true yeast for a Saison, it has that natural farmhouse funk. I mean, you know, I know you say sour, but I do think that there should be a little bit of that
a value of sour.
Yeah. You know, I mean, sour is such a strict word, you know, per se. Like I say funk because it's a lot more of a variety of a word to fit into a category, but you know, I mean, Saisons can be really wonderful because you get that really nice dry flavor with that, like.
Oh, you're right, Aaron. When I was home brewing, that's actually the only time I did a Saison.
Oh, nice.
And I did an awesome fresh cherry Saison. I remember it tasted phenomenal, and then it started getting the funk.
Yeah.
And all that taste, to my palate, I said, there's something wrong with this, and I didn't like it. I didn't like it because it's not the original taste that I had out of it when it was first freshly enjoyed, in my opinion. So that, I think, is where my German balance comes in, where I said, okay, there must have been something that went off on it, but you're saying that was actually, in my homebrew days, that was actually okay.
Definitely, no, and
I didn't know.
And you know, like as we're talking about aging that beer, you know, like there's some breweries in New York that will only, you know, sell you their Saison after it's aged 6 to 8 months, where they desire
that sourness,
sour flavor.
And then you can put in the barrel and stuff like that. Acquire, especially with wine and any residuals in a wine barrel. With the nice Saison afterwards.
And you can do some really cool, fun projects. I know some places that do a Solaris project where they barrel age their beers, and as they pull beer from one barrel, they start moving beer from the next year into that barrel and just keep blending older and newer beers. And it's just this wonderful, harmonious project of just really cool, well-aged beer.
I love the commentary too about the Saison and getting an understanding of that. That wasn't my beer style, and
it's not mine.
Yeah.
It's not